alien touched a Deathworld girl, she beat him before. The instructor breathed. The training hall of the Galactic Academy was alive with noise. Dozens of alien students of all shapes and sizes filled the vast room. Their voices echoed against the high metal walls, their claws, wings, and tails moving restlessly. The scent of strange worlds hung in the air, mixing with the sharp smell of metal and ozone. Here, young warriors from across the stars came to train, to fight, and to prove their worth. The doors at the far end opened, and silence spread like a wave. Every head turned as a human girl stepped into the hall. She looked small compared to the towering reptilian fighters and insectoid creatures. Her dark hair was tied back, her step steady and calm, her face expressionless. She carried no weapon, no armor, only the simple uniform of a student. Yet, her eyes told a different story, sharp, cold, and unblinking. Whispers filled the air instantly. Deathworlder hissed, one alien with scales glimmering under the light. She comes from Earth. Another muttered, its mandibles clicking. Nervously, the word Earth passed through the crowd like fire. Aliens shivered, remembering the legends. A Deathworld was a planet where survival was a daily battle, where gravity crushed the weak. Storms tore apart cities, and predators stalked without mercy. To come from such a world was to be dangerous by nature. The instructor, a tall being, with 4 arms and a voice like thunder, raised his hands. Quiet, he commanded, his eyes sweeping the room. This is a new student, and she is to be respected. But his tone carried a warning to one. The students understood. Do not test her too far. The girl walked to the center mat, standing with perfect balance. She looked around at the staring eyes, but showed no fear. Her breathing was calm, her muscles relaxed, her focus unbroken. She was used to this. The eyes, the whispers, the fear. Earth had taught her to expect it. But not everyone respected the warning. At the edge of the group, a large alien with 4 tusks and gray skin sneered. He was stronger than most, taller than all, his body built like stone. He laughed loudly, his deep voice shaking the room. This is the human Deathworlder, he said, so small, so weak. The other aliens shifted uneasily, but none stopped him. The instructor narrowed his eyes but did not speak. He wanted to see what would happen. The tusked alien stepped forward, his heavy feet shaking the floor. He walked straight up to the girl, towering over her. She looked up, her face calm, her eyes unblinking. He grinned, lowering his massive hand, and touched her shoulder. The crowd gasped, a ripple of fear spreading instantly. Everyone knew the stories. You never touched a Deathworlder. It happened in a blink, before even the instructor could draw breath to shout. The girl moved. Her hand caught the alien's wrist, twisting with impossible speed. Her body dropped low. Her legs swept across the floor. The tusked alien slammed onto the mat with a crash that shook the entire hall. Gasps filled the air. Claws clicked. Wings rustled. Tails froze mid-sway. The tusked alien groaned. His face pressed into the floor. The girl stood over him, her eyes still calm, her breathing steady. She had not even broken a sweat. The instructor's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The entire room was frozen in silence. It had happened faster than anyone could see, faster than the instructor himself could react. Before he could even breathe, she had already won. The girl released the alien's wrist and stepped back. He scrambled up, humiliated, his tusks scraping the air, but he did not attack again. The look in her eyes stopped him cold. It was not anger, it was not hate, it was something worse, indifference, as if he was no challenge at all. The hall erupted into whispers. She defeated him before the instructor even breathed. One alien hissed, her speed is impossible. Another gasped, Deathworlder. Someone whispered again, but now it sounded more like fear than insult. The tusked alien backed away, his pride shattered. The girl turned and walked calmly back to her place. The instructor finally found his voice, deep and booming. Now, you see, he said, why Deathworlders are never to be underestimated. The class remained silent, every alien staring at the girl with wide, uncertain eyes. Some looked terrified, some looked curious, and some looked jealous. But all of them knew one thing. The Deathworld girl was not weak, not prey, not just another student. She was a predator among them. And this was only the beginning. The training hall was never the same after that day. The memory of the human girl flipping the tusked alien before the instructor could even breathe spread like fire. By the next morning, every corner of the Galactic Academy was buzzing with whispers. Students of all species leaned close to each other, their voices low, but filled with excitement and fear. she moved faster than sight. One alien muttered in the cafeteria. She broke his pride with one strike. Another hissed in the library. They say she didn't even blink, whispered a creature with insect wings. The story grew with every retelling, each version making her seem even more terrifying. In the hallways, students would step aside as she walked past. Their eyes followed her, wide and cautious. Some bowed their heads in respect, others pressed themselves against the wall in fear. The girl walked calmly through it all, her footsteps steady, her face expressionless. She had grown used to such looks. Earth had taught her long ago that fear was the first reaction of those who did not understand. But not everyone stayed silent. Some students began to resent her. She is not like us, they said. She doesn't belong here. She will destroy us all if we make her angry. A reptilian student spat. Others thought differently. She is strong, maybe the strongest among us, one whispered. We should follow her. The academy was divided, fear pulling in one direction, admiration pulling in another. The tusked alien she defeated sat in silence during the next lesson. His pride was shattered, his shoulders heavy with shame. He no longer mocked her, no longer laughed. His eyes burned with anger, but also with something new, respect. The instructor noticed this, and he noticed the class too. The students were no longer focused on the lesson. Their eyes kept drifting to the human girl. Every small movement she made seemed dangerous, powerful, unstoppable. At night in the dormitories, the whispers grew louder. They say humans come from a death world, one student explained. Even their animals are deadly. I heard the gravity there is stronger than here. That is why she moves like lightning. Another added, no, it is because she hunts predators on her world. A third said, she is built to kill. The alien children shivered at the thought, imagining Earth as a nightmare planet where every step was a fight for survival. But the girl herself said nothing. She trained quietly, moving with discipline and calm. When others rested, she ran laps. When others practiced slowly, she struck with speed. Her silence only made the rumors grow. No one knew her story, no one knew her past, and that mystery made her seem even more dangerous. One day, during combat drills, another alien dared to test her. A tall creature with green skin and claws lunged at her from behind. Before the instructor could shout, the girl shifted her weight. With one smooth motion, she threw him onto the mat. The crowd gasped, silence filling the hall again. The green-skinned alien groaned, his claws scraping the floor. The girl stepped back, calm as ever, her eyes showing no emotion. She did it. Again, whispered a student. She doesn't even try, and they fall. It's not training. Another said, it's instinct. The instructor crossed his arms, his four eyes narrowing. He knew this could not continue unchecked. If every student tested her, the academy would collapse into chaos. But he also knew this was part of the lesson. The others had to understand what a death worlder meant. By the end of the week, the whispers had reached even the senior students. They stood at the edges of the training fields, watching the girl. Some smirked with interest, others frowned with suspicion. One of them muttered, she will have to be tested in the arena. The word arena made younger students shiver. It was where the most dangerous trials were held, where pride, strength, and survival were tested beyond limits. The girl, however, showed no reaction. She ate quietly, trained silently, slept without fear. Her life at the academy was not about proving herself, it was about surviving, just like it had always been on Earth. But deep inside, she knew something was building. The whispers were turning into challenges, the stares were turning into plans. It was only a matter of time before the academy would demand more than whispers. It would demand a true test. For now, the rumors ruled the halls. Deathworld, they whispered, monster. Some muttered, warrior. Others said, but all of them agreed on one truth. She was not a normal student. She was something far greater, and soon, everyone would see it. The rumors had spread too far. By the end of the week, the academy leaders could no longer ignore them. Whispers about the Deathworld girl were echoing in every corridor. Some students were terrified, others restless, and many demanded proof. The instructor called for silence one morning, his deep voice shaking the hall. It is time, he announced. The human will face a test. Every alien in the room froze, their eyes snapping toward the girl. She stood calm as ever, her arms at her sides, her eyes steady. The arena will decide, the instructor continued. She will fight not one, but 3 opponents. Gasps filled the air, wings fluttered, claws scraped the floor. Even the tusked alien she had defeated before widened his eyes in disbelief. The girl gave no reaction, she simply nodded, her face calm, her eyes unblinking. To her, this was not punishment or fear, it was simply survival, something Earth had taught her every day. The arena was vast, a circular pit of stone and steel. Thousands of students filled the stands, their voices a storm of whispers, high above. The academy leaders watched with sharp eyes. The instructor stood at the edge, his arms folded. The girl stepped into the arena, her small frame almost lost in the space. She looked up briefly at the crowd, then back at the ground. Her breathing was steady, her body loose, ready to move. Every muscle in her frame was prepared, like a predator waiting in silence. The gates opened, and 3 alien students entered. The first was a hulking reptilian with thick scales and heavy claws. The second was an insectoid creature with long, sharp limbs. The third was a sleek, wolf-like alien with glowing yellow eyes. Together, they looked unstoppable. The crowd roared, their voices rising in a wave of excitement and fear. The instructor raised his hand, holding the signal. "Begin," he boomed, dropping his arm. The reptilian charged first, his heavy feet shaking the ground. His claws swiped down at her with crushing force. But the girl slid aside with a single step. Her hand struck his side, quick and sharp. The reptilian stumbled, roaring in pain. His scales cracked where she had hit. Before the crowd could react, the insectoid leaped, its sharp limbs stabbing toward her. She twisted low, rolling across the floor. Her legs swept out, striking its thin joints. The insectoid collapsed with a screech, its legs folding beneath it. The wolf-like alien lunged from the side, jaws snapping. The girl spun, grabbing its neck and using its momentum. She flipped it over her shoulder, slamming it to the ground with a thunderous crash. The entire arena went silent for a moment, stunned by her speed. The 3 opponents scrambled up, their faces filled with shock and rage. They attacked together now, claws, fangs, and limbs striking from all sides. The girl moved like water, flowing between them. She ducked, dodged, struck, and twisted. Her movements were not just fast, they were natural, instinctive, perfect. One by one her strikes found their marks. The reptilian collapsed again, clutching his chest. The insectoid screeched as another joint cracked. The wolf-like alien fell with a groan, unable to rise. The crowd gasped, then fell into silence. No one could believe what they had seen. It had taken only seconds. The girl stood in the center of the arena, calm and steady. Her breathing had not even quickened. The instructor's eyes narrowed, but even he could not hide his respect. The leaders above leaned forward, whispering to each other. They had expected her to fight, to struggle, to maybe survive. But this was no survival. This was domination. The tusked alien in the stands clenched his fists, his jaw tight. He had mocked her once, but now he felt something else. Not just fear, but respect, even admiration. She was not weak, not prey, not fragile, as he had thought. She was something greater. The crowd slowly erupted, a storm of voices crashing together. Deathworlder, some shouted, unstoppable, others cried, "She defeated 3 before we could blink." Someone screamed. The girl simply stood there, her eyes scanning the arena. She showed no pride, no joy, no arrogance. To her, this was not victory, it was only survival, as it had always been, but to the others, it was legend. The instructor raised his hand for silence. "You have seen it for yourselves," he said, his voice booming. "This is what it means to come from a death world." His words carried through the arena like thunder. The girl walked to the edge of the arena, her steps quiet. The defeated aliens lay groaning on the floor, but alive. She had struck with precision, with control. She had proved her strength without killing, and that control was what made her even more dangerous. As she left the arena, the whispers followed her. She was no longer just a rumor, no longer just a student. She was something the Academy could not ignore, something faster than breath, stronger than fear, and the galaxy would soon know it. The arena floor was quiet. The 3 defeated aliens lay groaning, their bodies aching, their pride shattered. The crowd of students still roared, but beneath the noise was fear. They had seen something more than speed, more than skill. They had seen power that should not exist in one so small. The instructor raised his 4 arms for silence. Slowly, the voices faded, leaving only the sound of heavy breathing. "This is why Deathworlders are feared," he thundered. "This is why they are respected." His gaze swept over the silent students, their wide eyes fixed on the human girl. She stood calmly in the center of the arena. Her breathing was steady, her posture relaxed. She had not fought with rage, not with hatred. She had fought with discipline, control, and precision. Even now, she showed no pride, only focus. The reptilian alien groaned, trying to rise. The girl walked to him, her steps slow and steady. The crowd held its breath, expecting another strike, but instead, she reached out her hand. The reptilian blinked in shock. His scales scraped as he hesitated. Then slowly, he took her hand, and she pulled him back to his feet. Gasps filled the air. The Deathworld girl, the one they feared, was showing mercy. The insectoid clicked its mandibles, watching with disbelief. The wolf-like alien lowered its head, humbled by her strength and kindness. The instructor's deep eyes softened. Strength alone could earn fear, but mercy could earn something far greater, and in that moment, the lesson became clear to everyone. The tusked alien who had once mocked her sat silently in the stands, his fists clenched, his jaw tight, but in his heart he knew she was more than a fighter. She had beaten him once with speed, but now she had beaten him again with mercy, and that was something his pride could never deny. The crowd began to murmur again, but this time the tone was different. It was no longer only fear, it was respect, awe, even admiration. She is not just strong, one whispered, she is wise. Another said softly, she is more than a warrior. The girl turned her head slightly, her sharp eyes scanning the crowd. For the first time, a small smile touched her lips, not mocking, not arrogant, but calm. It was a smile that said she understood what they were feeling, and that she did not hate them for it. The instructor spoke again, his voice softer but still carrying through the arena. Remember this day, he said. Remember what you saw. A Deathworlder's strength is unmatched, but it is not their greatest power. Their greatest power is their choice. They can destroy, or they can show mercy. The girl stepped back, her eyes lowering. She did not need to hear more. She had proven herself, not by victory, but by restraint. On Earth, strength meant survival. But here, strength could mean something more. The three aliens she had fought bowed their heads. The reptilian spoke first, his deep voice shaking. You could have ended me, but you did not. The insectoid clicked its mandibles. You are faster than death, yet you spared me. The wolf-like alien lowered his glowing eyes. I will not forget. The girl simply nodded. Her expression, calm words were not needed. Her actions had already spoken louder than any speech. As she walked out of the arena, the crowd rose to its feet. Some clapped nervously, others roared with respect. The sound rolled across the academy like thunder. The Deathworld girl had arrived, and she had changed everything. In the halls later, the whispers had changed too. She is dangerous, some still said, but their voices were softer. She is powerful, others admitted, with pride instead of fear, and many whispered a new word, a word rarely spoken of humans. Friend. The tusked alien approached her days later. He stood tall, his tusks gleaming, his pride heavy. But when he looked into her calm eyes, his voice lowered. You are stronger than me. He admitted, you are more than me. The girl said nothing, only nodded. That single gesture was enough. From that day forward, the academy looked at her differently. She was not only the Deathworlder, not only the girl who defeated three before the instructor breathed. She was proof that humanity was not to be ignored, that strength and mercy could exist in the same hand, that even in a galaxy filled with warriors, humans carried something unique. And so the legend grew, not of a monster, not of a killer, but of a Deathworld girl who chose mercy when she could have chosen destruction, a girl who taught the academy that true power was not just in speed or strength, but in the choice of how to use it. She was not only a student, she was not only a fighter, she was something far greater, a human from a Deathworld, a warrior with mercy, a predator with kindness, and above all, a reminder that humanity could never be underestimated.